Let's go to Damian, Hinds MP, Minister of State for Security, Borders. He's a Conservative MP. Damian, good morning. I just wanted to point out to you, but Damian, you didn't think this would happen. You didn't think Putin would actually do this, did you, initially?
Well, I think everyone hoped that it wouldn't happen, but knew that it was a distinct possibility. Only anybody can look inside Vladimir Putin's head. But the situation we have now clearly is desperate for the people of Ukraine. That's why it's so important that we provide assistance both to Ukraine itself, but also to Poland and the other surrounding countries, and also that we are putting in place a big new humanitarian route, actually two new humanitarian routes, to make sure that our country is absolutely playing its part, along with friends and allies elsewhere, to make sure that we welcome and bring to safety people fleeing that conflict.
What form would that take? I mean, when you say two humanitarian routes, just explain that to us.
Yeah, so two, the first is an extended family programme. So for people who are here, who have extended family in Ukraine or who have just left. So by extended family, that means, it could be grandparents, siblings, adult children, and so on. They can bring them to this country, and that alone could be a couple of 100,000 people eligible for that. Then we're also bringing in a community sponsorship program. So we even don't have relations, family connection. That a community group here, so that could be a local organisation, a local council, or a church group or something like that. Can step up and say, we'd like to welcome a family to help them settle, to help the children settle into their schooling, to help them navigate the benefit system, to find work, and so on. So the extended family programme is imminent. That'll be in place tomorrow. The community sponsorship programme takes a little bit longer because obviously there's quite a lot to put in place to make it happen, but we want to do it as soon as possible.
The United Nations saying 1 million refugees have now fled the Ukraine. And I wonder why we're putting an arbitrary number on it. Nicola Sturgeon has said there shouldn't be a limit on the number.
We're not.
OK.
There is no arbitrary number.
OK. So there's an unlimited...
So the couple of 100,000 I mentioned, that's an estimate. Because obviously the British government doesn't have records, doesn't keep records of how many siblings or adult children people may have in another country. And then the community sponsorship programme, the only cap on that effectively is the community sponsors, and I think people will come forward and will want to do that. So, as I say, they're both big programmes.
Yeah, Minister, many people may say, why don't you just adopt the same approach as the Scottish government on this one? Just let people in first, ask questions later.
Well, look, we want to make it as smooth as possible. People have been through terrible trauma already. I mean, this is mostly, not entirely, but mostly this is, mothers and children and single lone females, because men aged 18 to 60 are remaining in country. They have been through the most horrific times. We want to make it as straightforward as possible. But we need to have biometric checks on people, not because of those people, but because of others who, sad truth is there will always be people who seek to take advantage of a situation like this, and we need to know who's coming into the country, who might be, of course, Russians rather than Ukrainians.
I want to ask you about Roman Abramovich. Some reports this morning suggesting that his flight records show that he travelled to Moscow via the Belarusian border, that he might be involved in some capacity in the first round of the peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. If that does prove to be the case, do you think the UK government might take a different strategy in terms of sanctioning him individually?
So, look, you'll have to forgive me. I can't and won't talk about individual cases of who may or may not be sanctioned unless and until that happens. That's for good reason. I don't think it's right to give people prior warning of their individual status. But we have sanctioned individuals already, as well as banks, organisations and others. And by the way, we'd already sanctioned many people over what happened in 2014 and for human rights outrages and for anti-corruption is already before this further invasion of Ukraine. Now we have sanctioned more people now, and there will be more to come. We've always been clear it's a ratchet It's a ratchet approach. There will be more to come, but you'll have to forgive me that I can't and won't comment on individuals unless and until that becomes the reality about them.
Well, Minister, we'll leave it there. We've got to go. We've reached the end of our programme. Thank you for squeezing us in, bringing us up to date. Not at all. Damian Hinds is the Minister of State for Security and Borders. He's also a Conservative MP.